I'm recording. I'm recording. I'm ready. I've got a podcast. We gotta go. Hello, my name is Brittany, and I have a bachelor's degree in film and television.
My name is Jessica, and I have a bachelor's degree in equine studies, and we're going to make a Bad Horse movie.
Yes, we are. Welcome to Cult Classics, the show where we make the next big hit. And by big hit, I mean like this sucker's in YouTube views with like 4 of them.
4?
4.
At least 4.
At least 4. 2 of them are me.
One of them's my grandma, except for she's not on YouTube. Never mind.
She's not on the YouTube. It's me showing it to her.
Yeah, there we go.
So 3 of them are me.
And one of them is a bot from Germany.
From Rush, Germany. Anyways, we're making a Bad Horse movie because that the world needs more bad movies, and by bad we mean like just not cinematic quality that you're going to go and pay $30 for a ticket for. This is like somebody made it with love and passion, absolutely, but they had about $2. And the studio executives kept being like, do we really need a horse trainer for the horse?
No.
Yeah. That's the kind of movie we're dealing with.
Don't get me started.
Oh, please. Please start, actually. Yes.
No.
Yes.
Jessica criticizing horse usage in movies is a whole different podcast.
I want this podcast. Why have we not done this?
Because I feel like it would be even better if I like actively watched a horse movie or a movie with a horse in it, because it's been a minute since I've watched any. Full disclosure, I have not watched a horse movie in a while. I have not really watched a movie with a horse in it for a while. I feel like horse movies sometimes are okay because it's like that's the main thing that they're doing. But like when there's a movie where there just happens to be a horse in it, but it's only in there for like 2 or 3 scenes, then it's usually worse. Because it's not important to them for things to be correct, but you watch this actor get on this horse and just you're like, no, that's not how you sit, that's not how you ride. It's all wrong. wrong.
Here's the thing I think it happens a lot in Hollywood is actors lie about their horse capabilities. So it's a combination of like, okay, our budget for horse is very small. So we're just gonna roll with it. And also, like, you know, we need the horse to be cinematic. So it's gonna make a sound that it is clearly not emoting at the moment, right? Right, because we've had this conversation before. Yeah. But then also the actor. The horse is fine. The horse is beautiful and perfect. But the actor's put on their resume, can ride horse. And so the producer, the casting director is like, oh, good. This is a movie where there's a horse in it. And they can do it. Great. We don't have to worry about getting a stunt rider or anything like that.
Right.
And then they get on the horse like, I have made a mistake.
I was led around on a pony ride when I was 12.
Yeah.
That does not equate to galloping off into the sunset.
Right. And they're like, oop. So I think there's a lot of that. And because that's the thing about like the industry at large, especially if you're talking about like performers, is they're going to just straight up falsify things so that they can get the part like that. It's very cutthroat. And so if they think that they're right for the role, if the role requires horse riding, but it's not the whole, it's not a horse movie where it's like, you know, we fall in love with the horse and save the day. If it's like, oh, we're doing a Western, and my character is not really like the horse wrangler. They're just there. Oh, and also I have to ride a horse. But I think I'm best for the role. I'm going to tell the casting director that I know how to ride a horse because I want this role. So I think it's a combination of a lot of factors. And like, how do you suss out that information? Like, I'm just thinking from the production side of things. If someone came to me during the casting process where we are in a room, we're in a gray box with a camera rolling, and I'm like, all right, I need you to read these sides, and I need you to pretend like you are in love with the person who's reading the sides, who also cannot act. So good luck, right? They're just because they've been reading the same script all day long. Right. So good luck. How am I going to be like, so your resume says that you can, your headshot and resume say that you can ride a horse. Are you lying to me? Like, like you're going to believe it because you've seen 30 people in the last 2 hours that all say they can ride horses. Right. And so you're like, I just need to know if you can act.
Yeah. I mean, from a like horse person standpoint, if the director, the casting director, or whoever knew about horses, I bet that they could at least ask a couple of questions to like kind of try to see if the person knows what they're talking about. Because there's a few things where you could be like, well, talk about your riding experience and what you know how to do. And if they're like, I know how to get on the horse and go around, so you're like, well, I don't know if you really know that much. But if they're like, okay, yeah, I've taken some lessons and I've learned walk trot and I've done some trotting of different patterns, and I learned the barrel racing pattern, but like at a slower gait, or I learned how to do barrel racing and pole bending. Like, those are things that not the average person doesn't necessarily think of to like talk about if you ask them about their horse experience, if they're like trying to lie about it, unless they do a whole lot of research. But also, you have to know as the person asking those questions, you have to know about horse things. And I would imagine that if the horse scene is like one scene, one or two scenes in the movie, that they don't know anything about horses either.
Not usually. I don't feel like the casting director specifically are going to come out the gate swinging with a lot of the inherent knowledge. And something like that, that's a skill, that's a teachable skill. Right. They're really not going to be like, oh, you need to know this, unless it is a movie about a horse specifically, or like that's a major part of the movie. Especially because the casting director is not the director. Right. So like the director could be like, oh, hey, I really want to make sure that this person has all of the horse knowledge, but they're probably not going to be in the room, at least for the initial round of casting. Right. So the casting director has to be like, okay, this handful is good enough to throw at the director, and this handful is good enough to throw at the director. Right. And we can do a screen test with these guys, because it's like they have to, wade through hundreds and hundreds of people. Right. So it's you can't get into those details at that early stage. And then by the time you're far enough along, maybe the director fell in love with one of the actors for their performance style. Right. That's the top priority. Oh, absolutely. Again, unless the movie is about being like, I need you to be able to hop on this horse bareback while they're riding, running past you. You're going to like leap off and leap on. Right. But that's also, but then that gets into stunt territory. Yeah. And like, so. That's stunt. And that's the other thing is I think there's a way you can get away with a lot of stuff, because you should be, for something like that's a larger scale, you should be getting stunt writers to do it anyways. Right. So that's a matter of like, do you absolutely need the shot of the actor mounting, getting on? Like, is that relevant? Or can we just put them on a fake horse and get the shot? I've seen that a lot. Like, you have this basically like the way that they have the mechanical bulls. Yeah. Right? They just have that as a fake horse, and you get on that and you ride it. It's got a motor in it. And like, that gets you the shot you need of riding on the back of the horse without actually being on the horse. So it's like, at a certain point. Right. But I do think that it's relevant if you are looking at the movie and you're like, this is not, you've gone up, you've mounted the horse from the wrong side. And you're currently leaning over the horse like you're drunk. Like, what, that's nothing. So, it's like pros and cons.
Right. I will say also that some of my beef with particular scenes of horses in movies isn't actually about it being like correct or not, where it's more of like, I know, like, I'm much more of a probably what I would consider natural horsemanship person, where I'm trying to not yank my horse all over the moon, and I'm actually I'm treating them like a living being rather than a means to an end. And historically, people did treat horses like a means to an end. Like, you yanked it around, you made it do what you wanted it to do, and you checked some food and water on it and called it a day. So I've seen a lot of movies where the person, you know, hops on the horse and then they're like yanking the horse's head around. A lot of Westerns are like that. And I'm like, I get it, and that's probably historically accurate, but also that hurts my heart.
If we're talking about Westerns too, there's a certain era of Western film, like filmmaking of Westerns, not Western filmmaking, because that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Where that still would have been the way that it would have been, you know, part of the public consciousness. I'm thinking of like early Westerns where they like they put horses in real danger, like just for the filmmaking of it, because this was before we had any kind of like animal safety on set, just in general. So that's been kind of the case of like horses and filmmaking kind of step in step for a really long time. So I can't imagine that there's any Western, like a classic Western, that doesn't have that kind of style of horse handling, because of just that would have been the way you would have, a horse is a tool on set kind of feel. Whereas now it's a little less.
Yeah, I think that also, like, it's highly possible. I don't know, because I'm not a historian. But I feel like it makes sense to me that like actual cowboys would have ridden like that too. So nobody would have questioned it, because that's how you ride. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure I saw a movie. I can't tell you what it was, because all I'm getting is like vague memories. But I feel like I was watching a movie that was more modern, and the way that they were riding this horse, I was like, oh, please stop. This hurts. Like, I know, like, you're not technically doing it wrong, but also, like, could you not?
Yeah, see, that's a conversation I don't have any insight to, of, like, would you change the style of horse handling and horse riding if you were doing a historic piece? Because I don't know. I don't know if that's a conversation that directors and filmmakers are having. Right. Because, like, I feel like you can kind of see a change in a lot of historic filmmaking of still utilizing modern elements in a way that's just not something that we think about. Right. And I don't really have any good examples off the top of my head, because I'm not really, again, like, I'm not a historian either. But I feel like it depends on the film, and if you do have some like kind of dramaturg on set, something like that, of like, is that part of it? Is your script supervisor also really into the history of it? Because I'm thinking of like the Little Women movie that came out. There was a lot of I saw a lot of costume like historians specifically on YouTube where they were like, this is like all over the place. And so there are people who like actively know that the effort was not put into the movie, but sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes it's about the story, and it just needs to vaguely look like the period to be able to convey the story. Right. So it depends on what you're trying to get across, and then how deep into the historical accuracy do you go? How far down that rabbit hole are you capable of doing with the finances you have for this movie? Right. Because that's paying a person to do all of that deep diving. It's then like, okay, we're going to do a scene, and we can't have this silverware because it's not historically accurate. We need to get, pewter silverware, right? So it's like, then like, how far down that rabbit hole are you going? Or are you at a point where you're like, this genuinely gives the aesthetic that we're kind of looking for? So yeah, I don't know if that's a conversation that's being had as far as like horse accuracy.
I mean, I don't even know if we really if anybody, I mean, maybe, but like, I don't know of any horse historians as far as like horseback riding styles go. Like to a certain extent, yeah, like we know about like side saddle and different like driving like horses pulling wagons and the mail stagecoaches and all that kind of stuff. Like they know some of it, but I don't know if it really gets into the specifics of like how gentle they were with their horses. I feel like that was kind of a case-by-case basis. I think that the general, again, I am not a professional, but to me it feels like the general attitude towards horses as we have moved away from them being a necessary tool to be able to function in life. Like once we got the steam engine and the car and all that kind of stuff, like we are treating them more like companions and less like tools. But there are still people who operate under that mindset of like, the mindset of maybe, you know, oh, this is a beast that I need to subdue and make do what I want. And then there's the whole other end of the spectrum of like going so far as being like, let's let the horse choose what they want to do. And like there's a full range of thoughts and ideas. I think that from what I can see in the world, it tends towards more on companionship and being humanitarian towards the horses, but it depends on where in the world you are and all of that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I have my own personal thoughts of how I think that it should be, but I'm not going to say that this is the way that it needs to be. But like, if I am the one directing the horse movie, then we're going to do it a little different.
Yeah. Yeah. I am now really curious if there's someone who like, because I know there are people who are very well versed in horse history as far as like notable horses. I know that's a big part of it, but I am curious if there's anybody who has any kind of specific focus in like the history of horses in cinema, but also like horse riding styles and like I'm even thinking of like I don't know what the word is for the accoutrement, but like saddles and halters and reins and all that. Tack. Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah. Like I'm sure that there's a history evolution of tack that would be really interesting to kind of see the progression of. Because I'm thinking like if I was to hire somebody as a horse historian on my film set, then like if I'm setting this in 1841, what does that tack look like different from 1851? Like there's gonna be a difference, or maybe there isn't, like, but you know, how far down, because that's the thing is like, how far down the rabbit hole do you go? Because if I'm filming this movie and it's supposed to be set in 1841 and I think that I can get away with just a regular piece of, you know, leather that I can put on the horse and then the blanket just needs to look different, like, ta-da, I've done it. You're not going to notice. Right. But, you know, like, so I'm just genuinely curious, like, what that kind of history.
I feel like there's at least somebody on the internet who has some idea, because I'm pretty sure that I've come across some sort of, like, post or something where somebody was kind of doing that thing of, like, the tack on this horse in this particular movie was not historically accurate because it was like you could just tell that it was very modern and whatever they were doing was some sort of historical piece.
I just find that so interesting, and I really would love to know. And I also would love to know, like, what is the relevancy to that to the filmmaking process?
Right.
So.
I feel like also there would be some limitations on how historically accurate you could be with the whole, like, animal cruelty protection stuff. Because, like, I feel like there are certain things that you just couldn't do because, they did them in the past, but we now recognize that as inhumane for whatever reason, and so you're not allowed to do it or else you'll get in trouble.
See, that's the place where I feel like that's when you can bring in, if it's absolutely story necessary, your CGI horses. Like, I'm a big believer in practical.
Right.
But if there's like something that you think needs to happen for the sake of the story to move forward and it would cause active harm to the animal, then yeah, that's when you bring in the CGI double, basically.
Right.
So that's where I feel like that could be a useful crossover. Not to like, I'm not anti-CGI. I'm anti-CGI for the sake of just having it. Like, practical, if you can, CGI when it's unsafe to do so.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to get too far into this, but you made me think of Warhorse. So, like, just for your personal, or if anybody listening cares about this, as we've rattled on about horses in movies for a while.
This is a horse movie podcast.
It is true. It is a horse movie podcast. We're just talking about horses in movies instead of making a horse movie.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I don't know all the specifics of it because I haven't gotten into it. I feel like maybe John would have be able to talk about this. I feel like John was one of the people who talked about Warhorse being a great movie that they greatly enjoyed. I don't know all the specifics of it. I just remember reading somewhere that there are like the horse that was Warhorse in the movie was like a trained performer horse, and like some of the scenes and things that they did that you would think that they would have gotten some sort of like fake horse or whatever for, like the horse actually did some of the stuff. I feel like it was something with the barbed wire. Like there's a bit where he gets like caught in a barbed wire fence, and of course they didn't use like actual barbed wire on an actual horse, but there was something about the way that they did it that the horse actually like legitimately laid down and like on command and like actually acted out in the movie. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, trained animals are so cool, but also so like, how do you do that?
You have to. They're so unique and individual. Like you would think, it's a horse, but no. Like some of them pick up on stuff really fast, and some of them you can train them, but you're gonna get like 2 things, and it's gonna take you 20 years.
I was gonna say one brain cell picking around in there.
Yeah. Some of them are either just don't want to, so they will like not really engage with what you're trying to train them to do. And some of them are just really incredibly dense.
Well,
and then you have the really, really smart ones that figure out how to let themselves out of their own stalls. And so you have to put like 14 padlocks on it so they don't Houdini their way out.
Amazing, though. I love a Houdini. So, do you want to maybe actually do our podcast?
Yeah, I was going to segue earlier, and then I got distracted because of interesting things. So, speaking of historical horses, I am bringing back Hay or Nay. Small, tiny bit of context. This is from a race that was run recently. We're kind of past Kentucky Derby season by the time this episode comes out, but it was before it the last time we recorded. So now Kentucky Derby has happened, but this is not the actual Kentucky Derby. I thought this was the results for the Kentucky Derby, but apparently like a couple days before the Kentucky Derby at the same racetrack, they have a few other races, and one of the ones that they do is specifically for mares, which are female horses, and it's called the Kentucky Oaks. And I have the top 5 horses from that race plus one that I made up myself.
I gotta pick a made up one out of 6?
Yes.
Good horse.
If you need, I will tell you 1 or 2 of the ones that are real.
No, we're gonna speed run this. Let's go. Okay. I'm going by vibes.
Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. The first one is wet paint.
Oh, good. Continue.
Second one is gambling girl.
That's me. Continue.
Third one is pretty mischievous.
Okay. No, that's me. Continue. I take it back. That's me.
Fourth one is special T with T spelled TEA.
Okay. Excellent.
Specialty.
Yeah.
Okay. What are we on? Okay, 5. 4.
Uh-huh.
The 5th one is Darth Vader.
Okay, I'm taking that one out of the running because you would never come up with that, but you love it so much. So that one's out.
Okay, and then the last one is the Alley's look. And Alley's is spelled Alys.
Okay, that one's out too. So wet paint, gambling girl, pretty mischievous, and
specialty.
Specialty.
Mm-hmm.
That one I love just for the pun alone. That one's very good. I'm going with wet paint.
Oh, you are wrong.
I'm always wrong. I have a 0% success rate with this game. I have never once gotten one right.
No, I think you got one of them.
No. Don't patronize me. I've never got one right.
I went back through and listened to all of the episodes and did a running tally, and I'm almost positive that you have at least one that you got correct.
Which is still mathematically impossible. I have a 1% success rate. Less than that, I'm sure.
You did a great job of cutting out the ones that, like Darth Vader and Alley's look. You're like, you read into those ones good. But I did very much like Darth Vader.
Yes, Dork Vader is more like it.
I don't know why it's Dorth.
Dorothy
Vader. I don't know. Specialty is the one that I came up with.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's a very good one.
Thank you.
I feel like that's got to be a horse name already.
I looked it up.
It's great.
It's not. It registered in the Jockey Club, at least.
A free horse name.
Free horse name. Well, this for thoroughbred specifically, it's not been used. Somebody else might have used it for their backyard horse.
Yeah, but no, like we're talking specifically. Race it next year. I want to see specialty on the track. Let's freaking go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the winner of the race was Pretty Mischievous.
Ooh, me.
It's you. You
won the race.
On your own 2 feet.
Oh, God. That's not a good...
That's a race I want to see. A bunch of thoroughbreds and Pretty running.
I don't need to be there for that. Can I not be there for that?
We'll make a robot version of you to race them.
See,
so you don't have to be there.
I have a fighting chance then, at least. Okay, so we're gonna generate a title.
Yes.
Let's go. What do we want to start with?
Well, so our vibes for the title that we're generating is something we've decided already that we are potentially going to do something related to time travel.
Yeah.
Either time travel or space travel or both.
Or both.
We talked in our last episode about... Well, we were going to actually use the title The Last Horse on Mars. Now that I think about it, that was actually a title that we generated.
That was the title, but I think...
That we were going to use.
But I still feel like... We can come back to that one.
Okay.
I think if we're feeling Dr. Horse, then I think we should go.
Oh my gosh. I don't know enough about that to...
I don't either. It's been probably like 10 years since I watched Doctor Who.
I had a friend who was very hyperfixated on Doctor Who for a very long time. So I got adjacent knowledge.
Yeah,
but that was about
knowledge.
It. Yeah.
That's all you need. Time and space, and they hop around to different planets, and there's an alien involved.
There's an alien involved.
There's an alien involved. Wish, horse called Wish. That's nothing.
What are you doing?
I am adding some energy to this title. Alien. Love. Adrian. Alien love, Adrian. That's nothing.
Alien love, Adrian.
Alien calendar. Winky. Justin.
Justin.
Why is it always Justin?
Justin is just Justin.
Justin is Justin. Alien electric. Horseman.
Emma.
None of this is. This is a word salad.
Because there's nothing in the title that is related to aliens, so
if
it doesn't.
I put in the word time travel is the first option that comes up.
Is there another time travel horse movie title in this generator already?
Are we gonna make a horse called Bear again? Time travel werewolves!
What?
Time travel werewolves! Time travel werewolves!
That is a different podcast.
No, we can make it a horse podcast.
What?
We can do this.
Oh, man.
Time travel werewolves, and then you, like, watch the movie, and you're like, there's only one werewolf, and the rest of them are horses.
I mean, to be fair, we did put werewolves in our movie with the canary named Osha.
The canary in the gold mine underground.
Yes.
Yeah.
The underground gold mine. The coal mine gold mine.
Yes, correct. Time travel werewolves is so good.
I don't mind adding a werewolf as a secondary character, but I feel odd adding them as the primary character because I'm not a werewolf person.
I thought you were going to just end that sentence.
I am not a werewolf.
That I don't believe. When you have to say that you're not a thing, you're almost always that thing.
I am definitely not a werewolf.
You keep saying it, it's making it worse.
That one was on purpose.
Okay, we'll take werewolf out of the title.
Okay. I've seen a lot of posts of people who are like, I definitely acquired this salad by perfectly legal means.
Correct.
You're like, that makes it more suspicious.
It makes it worse somehow. Time travel into the West. Yeah.
That's boring.
It's kind of boring. Wildfire? Wizard. Time travel into the wizard of Kentucky. It's always Kentucky. Didn't we? I think we have the
yes.
OG Wizard of Kentucky.
Yes, which might actually be in this generator that you made, so that's probably why it's going there.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. Wizard of Wish. I got this wizard off of Wish. And I accidentally time traveled into him.
How do you time travel inside of somebody?
No. Okay, so like, like when a car hits a person, it's just a time travel machine hitting a person. You time traveled into them.
Oh gosh.
Okay, this is nonsense. We're gonna spend so much time in this generator.
We usually do.
But I wanna expedite this. We're 35 minutes in. Time whip. It's my time whip, yo.
No.
Time rodeo. Okay. Soft pitch.
Time rodeo or time travel rodeo?
No. Soft pitch.
Okay.
Let me soft pitch. So, we're in this universe where everybody can time travel. Right.
Okay.
You have to get a license, and you have like certain regulations. Certain things are illegal to do within the time travel situation. Mm-hmm. But once, this is gonna get really confusing. Well, there's once in time, once every time, there's a rodeo, but it takes place outside of the main time stream, and so everybody time travels into it, and they show off their range of time horses. So this person's got a horse from old Earth, and this person has a cyborg horse from Mars, and they put him in the rodeo, and they show him off, and they get big blue ribbons, and then the end.
Okay. I'm kind of on board with the idea of having a rodeo with horses from different time periods.
Yeah. If you want to do it in a not confusing way, it's got to be like this only happens once kind of deal. Or it happens like, I don't know how, time travel is hard for me to conceptualize as a writer
Yeah.
Because it gets really confusing. So that's why if you just have it be like one.
Right.
And there's like an entry, like you have to make a reservation. And if you make a reservation from the future or something.
What if...
we don't do time travel, so don't break my brain.
Well, I agree with you. I'm not a big fan of time travel. Honestly, anytime that they like start pulling that into a movie franchise, I'm kind of out. Like I don't vibe with that. But I feel like we could make it kind of a peripheral thing where like when the movie is happening, no time travel happens during the like events of the movie. So my thought was, so maybe not everybody is able to time travel, but there is a society of time travelers. Okay. So like you can, if you're a time traveler, you can become part of this society, and you've got like an agent number or a member number or whatever, and you've got like perks if you pay to be part of the society, or I don't know, like whatever being part of a society is, you know? And so there's different people from different time periods are part of this time traveler society. And so once a year, maybe once every 2 years, to kind of stretch it out a little bit, which keeping track of years probably would be hard, but I feel like they've got to have some sort of like central time clock of some sort.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Like there's a society headquarters that everybody can time travel into very easily, and they have like, this is the regulated time of right now. And so like every so often they have this rodeo as like a break for the time travelers. Because maybe the people who are part of this time traveler society, like actually, like outside of the events of the movie, the time travelers like go travel through time to like, I don't know, fix things or help people or like go undercover or like, so that's like it's like a job. So like the rodeo is like a relaxing, fun company pizza party type event.
Company picnic, got it. Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know, like this is a fun event that's not related to work for you to like de-stress and have a good time, which I feel like that's what a rodeo is anyways. Like it is, but it isn't. It started out as things related to stuff that cowboys were actually doing, but nowadays it's just like, come and enjoy yourself, and there's some crazy events that happen, but it's, you know, the community gets together and we have a good time. Yeah. Kind of a thing. And so I don't know what the main plot of the rodeo would be, but like the setting is time travel exists, which explains why these horses and these people are all in different period costumes / looking like they're from the future. Cybernetic horse. Oh my gosh, cybernetic horses.
We talked about this before. Like, yes. We're both into cybernetic horses.
It would just be so helpful because you can't really give horses prosthetics.
Yeah.
But cybernetics you could give to horses for sure to fix things.
There's got to be at least one full robot horse. Okay.
I mean, I feel like there's got to be something to keep it kind of fair so that the, like, futuristic tech-infused horses don't have an advantage over the horses from the early 300s.
So my thought would be, like, well, I don't know, because it's hard because, like, if you were to say that a horse from 2023 is competing against a horse from 1801, like, I feel like there's just advancements we've made, like, just in breeding and, like, training alone that would cause an advantage. So I feel like what we would do is just not mention it. Just not. And okay. what you do storytelling wise is you showcase that the horse itself, like the time period it's from, has no bearing on its abilities because you have the first couple whatever events be won by like older timeline horses. You just kind of showcase that where you're like, nothing to do with if you got cybernetics or not. This is just a good old fashioned horse race, whatever event you want to do, and you have it be like, and the winner is 1609, something like that.
Right.
So that way you don't have to like be like, oh, well, I'm from the future, and here's our regulation devices that I'm going to put on every single horse. Like, that's just too much. I think you can kind of just give a little bit of suspension of disbelief because you're already in a weird territory to begin with. So,
that's true.
I do feel like your setting idea might actually be able to play into the plot. Okay. Because one of the things that I feel like is a pretty standard plot-ish thing is like, basically the idea would be there's a villain who's like trying to take over the time agency, right? Okay. And so like, and they've been tracking something, and they're a big threat. And it's like, but don't worry, go on your little retreat, go to your little rodeo. Don't worry about it. We've time locked it so like nobody can get in. There's no way that this guy will get in there. Right. And then you have the guy get in there and like cause hijinks. And so there's like one main character who like the whole time is trying to do the rodeo and also deal with this like villain basically. And like, and whatever you want the plot to be, it depends on how silly you want it to get, because if it's like super silly, it can be like you halfway through or 3/4 of the way through, you capture this villain, and then you're like, and now you're in the rodeo. Now you've got to be the clown in there, right? Like, so you make it silly. Or if you wanted it to be like kind of serious, it could come to like a big fight in the middle of the arena, and then like defeat the villain and something. And because the villain is defeated, something happens in the timeline, and so like something that's been deteriorating the whole time suddenly stops, or because it could be something like paradox thing where it's like this villain, by attempting to destroy this time organization, is starting to cause a paradox, and people are starting to like ghost away. And so then when you destroy the villain, poof, everybody's back to normal. So it depends on how serious you want to get with it. Right. And that's just a tonal thing. Right.
I like serious sometimes, but I'm not feeling it for this. Okay. Honestly, my first thought, now, disclaimer, I've been watching Phineas and Ferb recently. Okay. So I think it would be funny, and this is not specifically related to that, but kind of, where, so the villain, manages to break through the time barriers and shows up in the middle of the rodeo, and like, maybe there are time personnel who are actively trying to like get him out, but I feel like just events of things that are happening like stop him. Unintentional ridiculous thing, like he goes to start doing something somewhere, and unknowingly he's in the bull riding arena, and so this bull comes out trying to launch off its rider, and he tramples over the villain or something. Yeah, like where he just like is just the events of the rodeo stop whatever he's trying to do without them like intentionally trying to stop him. He's just going to all of the wrong places at the wrong times. Yeah. Or the right times. I don't know how to use that phrase.
Wrong times for the villain.
Wrong times for the villain, yeah.
I think that's super fun. If you're in Phineas and Ferb headspace, are you seeing it animated then?
No, I was just thinking about how there are times when Dr. Doofenshmirtz is like foiled, but not specifically by Perry the Platypus trying to do something in particular. Like, he does foil him, but also there are times when he like goes to do something and something else that's happening in the scene, something that Phineas and Ferb have done, like ruin his invention unintentionally.
Yeah, I'm into it. I think that's fun. So it seems like this is more of a comedy than anything.
Yeah, I feel like it.
Because I feel like we could add some more comedic elements with just, like, weird misunderstandings between time periods.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, like, I mean, even just slang. But,
right.
And so is everybody like an agent or a personnel, or are some people just like regular people?
Well, I feel like there could be some regular people because like my thought process of the society is like I could join I don't have a good example, but say theoretically I could join like a music society, and I don't necessarily have to actively be doing music as my day job, but it's something that I have an interest in, I know some about, I want to sit and talk to other people
so
about
this is a volunteer organization? Because I would love that. That would be so funny.
Okay, I'm into it.
It's not quite as like serious as the like, you know, agency that we were proposing earlier, but if it's if it's a volunteer run, like
I feel like that could be good.
That's really good, because what that means is that there's somebody who's recruited certain people from before time travel becomes like well known as part of the culture, right? Because if somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, I'm a time traveler, I need you to do this thing," you know, then I obviously there would be a whole other conversation. But I'm not sitting there going, "Oh yes, I know that there's a time travel shop down the street, so yeah, like I'll just go to the shop." Like does not exist in this time period that I currently reside in.
Right.
So like somebody would have to recruit me, right? And so even if we say time travel gets invented in 2024, everything before that, you still have to have somebody go out and get that. And so just making it like a nonprofit volunteer, so funny. Because then what that means is that like, I feel like the stakes are lower, right? If you're getting volunteers to help you with your time travel thing, even if the volunteers are time traveling, even if I was to say, okay, I'm going to volunteer for this organization, me, Brittany, the person, and they're like, hey, we need somebody to go clean up this graffiti on this building in this city in 1941, then like, yeah, okay, I can do that. But I'm not like stopping the bullet that kills the person that then dominoes into this thing, like, right? So it's like a little less stakes involved. But the other thing could be like if the recruiter / like organizer of this nonprofit in your timeline, in your time that you are currently residing in, is like, hey, I have access to all of the time streams. Can you do this thing tomorrow? Right? Like, it would not even be like a time travel situation, but I think it needs to be still some time travel. I think the volunteers like still actively have to time travel, but like you have a home base time, right? Because it's like they wouldn't always be sending me to 1940. They might send me in the future or more of the past, but like they need me kind of in and around where I already live.
I feel like in my head, I had it a little bit different, but I'm not going to get into that because I'm vibing with what you got.
Okay.
But the other thing that...
I'm just saying nonsense. So I don't actively like writing time travel, so you are welcome to interject and change what I said.
Okay, so my original thought then was not that there is some sort of like technological device for people to be able to time travel, but more of that it was like an inherent ability that certain people had. And so...
How do they bring the horses, then? Anybody you're touching comes with you.
I mean, that was literally what I was just about to say. I feel like that's the most classic, like, superhero type thing. So I wasn't really thinking of it as superheroes necessarily, but just like, in this universe, there are certain people who have the inherent ability to time travel and certain people who don't. And that's how I feel like we got people from past to future. Was just those were the people who had the inherent ability to time travel.
Okay.
And in my head, there was like a central time-locked maybe Grand Central Station.
Yeah.
where they could show up from wherever time, whatever place they had been at, and they could hang out in the lounge area and talk to each other about time travel gossip. And they could maybe check in and see if there's any assignments that they need to, complete or whatever. Because I literally had this thought in my head of there's the super even keeled, like not phased by anything desk worker who responds without even looking up at whoever's talking to her. Because I don't know if this would work with what we were doing or not, but I was imagining, like, so this, you know, this villain or whatever shows up in the office in front of this worker, and he's like, I have made it into your office. And she's like, you're going to have to take a number if you want to talk to so-and-so. You got to sit down over there. Like, doesn't even, not even phased, doesn't even look at them. But even if not, like, I feel like we could still throw that character in of, like, one of our main people that kind of the movie kind of follows this character. They're like, hey, Doris, just checking in for my next assignment. And she's like, oh, I don't have anything for you right now, but go enjoy the Time Rodeo.
Yeah. I think you can still do that if it's a volunteer organization, too.
Uh-huh.
I just think the vibe of an office quote unquote like agency versus a nonprofit is so different.
Oh, okay. Because the reason I was thinking, like, there could be some people who didn't actively, like, try to fix things in time or whatever is like, yes, I have the inherent ability to time travel, but I'm choosing not to take on any assignments. I'm just living my life as a person and, you know, just doing what I do. Like, I'm part of this society because I know that I can time travel, and somebody figured that out and invited me to join, and I talk to people about what they're doing, but I don't actively take on any assignments. So I'm still kind of like a quote unquote civilian in the sense of, like, I can do this, but I don't do it as my, like, day job.
That's why I think it should be a volunteer organization.
Okay. So, like, anybody who joins just has to volunteer for assignments instead of being assigned
things. Yeah. Right. And, like, I think with that, too, you could get a little, like, the characters could be a little more picky of being like, you got any in Albuquerque?
Oh, yeah.
You know, something like that.
Right.
There's a broad there that I ought to see. Don't know why I did that voice.
Got anything on Mars?
Anything on Mars, I need a getaway. I think that, like, that the vibe of that could just be like, it's very casual that way. Which makes it less of like, it's the time patrol, you know?
Yeah.
Right. It's just like, these are just some guys hanging out, and that's why we're doing this rodeo.
Yep.
I think that's fun. I think it's so stupid. Because then I think it makes the villain even stupider.
Oh, yeah.
You know, be like, I'm going to take over your time organization. And everyone's like, I'm going to get volunteer hours for this. Like, I don't know what you're... there's a candy jar if you want it. The last thing I decided to do was rescue a cat from a tree. Like, we're not like, you know, babysitting Hitler. Sorry. I don't know what you want.
Right. You want to come to our rodeo?
You want to come to our rodeo? Bob is winning.
Bob is winning.
Bob doesn't even have a horse.
He's just running.
He's just running around.
Which, I mean, there's other stuff you do in a rodeo that's not riding horses.
Yes. But this is a horse movie.
I mean, you could have all of it. I'm trying to think of all the rodeo things that I know that happen. There's a pie eating contest, usually. Bucking bronco, bucking bull, barrel racing and pole bending is like horse events. Trying to think of what else. I think I've...
Tractor pulls.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I'm trying to, like, differentiate between a rodeo and a, like, county fair.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking, too. But I think the fair, there's, like, more, like, showing off of things. Because I'm thinking of, like, there's the art contest and there's the, like, 4-H stuff.
The vegetables.
Yeah, and, like, look at all this stuff we made and grew and you know, cultivated. there's a lot more, I feel like there's a lot more kitschy things at the fair. Like you can get your face painted, or there's a clown, or like, I'm thinking of like, there's tons of those cutouts with you put your face in there. And, I feel like a rodeo is more like event based.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember if I feel like I've actually been to a rodeo at least once. But most of the things that I remember are, roping and it's called cutting, when they, like, their horses are able to get one cow away from the big group of cows.
Oh,
they like separate them out. It's very like a beef cattle farm type stuff. Because it's like cowboys, all the things that they would have to do, plus some like fun events. Because like barrel racing's just kind of showing off that your horse is fast and turns really good.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of the other like Western type horse riding events like pole bending and keyhole and some of the other ones that I don't remember the names off the top of my head right now is like just about your horse being fast and agile. Whereas like the reining and like cow roping events are like specifically related to things that you would actually have to do on a farm with beef cattle, because you would have to separate cows out of the herd to, you know, brand them, or if they're, you know, need to be like taken care of health wise, or like you're just separating them because some of them belong to this person and some of them belong to this other person, and you're taking them to two different locations, like all that kind of stuff.
Sometimes for fun to just look at.
Yeah.
I just want to look at this one.
I want to look at that one in particular.
This one, please. So yeah, I feel like we can do a lot of fun stuff with this stupid movie.
Yeah. That barely has a plot. It's just like, hey, let's go to a rodeo where there are people from different time periods.
Yeah, but
who are
then
competing.
The villain shows up and it gets slapsticky.
Yes.
And then the villain is defeated and the rodeo is complete and everyone had a great time.
Everyone had a great time, and it is a coffee story. Story to talk about over coffee.
The one time I went to the rodeo.
You remember the Time Rodeo where Vlad showed up?
Why did he show up?
And then he got trampled over by the bucking bull.
That one's on Vlad.
Oh, no, he didn't get trampled over by the bucking bull. He ended up on top of the bucking bull. They thought that he was the next contestant, and they threw him up there. He was flopping around like a dummy mad at a straw.
This feels less like a feature-length film and more like a 45-minute length film. But I'm very into it. I think this could be fun. I hope we get a good historian for this movie. I think it's going to play a crucial role.
Bad historian for this movie.
I think the movie needs to be so passionately made that then turns it back around to bad. Where it's like you lose so much in the details that you're like, they spent too much time deciding the color of this saddlebag. They forgot to make the acting good.
They spent all of their budget on the historian.
Yeah, exactly.
And nothing on the actors.
The actors are also all volunteer.
Yes.
It's a very volunteer movie.
Okay, I will say, though, so the historian, yes, but also we gotta pay good for the horse handlers.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course.
There is only good horse care done during this movie.
Correct. Yes.
Any of the cult classics movies have a good horse trainer / I don't know what other term you would use for the person who makes sure that the horse things are good during a movie.
Handler, maybe?
Maybe. Guess it depends on what you're doing.
Unless it's an animated movie, in which case we have the worst horse handler. We just invite them into the studio for no reason. For no reason. Here, watch this clip, but you have no say over what happens. You have no say, and you also have a 1-star rating on Instagram, so, like, that's why we brought you here.
I brought you here today for a very important task. Nothing.
Look at this animated horse.
Look at this animated horse and give me your 2 cents that I will deposit into a donation bucket.
I was going to say 401k.
Can you deposit only 2 cents into a 401k? Who knows?
Who knows?
None of us are adults here.
No.
We don't know these things.
I do not. Did we make a movie?
I guess we did.
Okay. That's a cult classic?
I think so.
Okay, Time Rodeo.
Time Rodeo.
I think it's super fun. I'm really into it.
I'd be interested to think about some of the other, like, characters. Like, what are the, like, key time periods that are kind of going to feature in the movie. So if anybody has any thoughts, comments, ideas, post them in our Discord.
Yeah.
Join.
We don't even have that on our list of things to say at the end of the show.
Well, I'm adding it now in my head. I mean, you can actually add it. I can't edit this.
I'm gonna edit this document that we're both looking at the moment. But we are part of the Pocket Podcast Network, and you can join the Pocket Podcast Network Discord to get into our channel and our categories and kind of hang out and see what's going on. There's a lot of cool people in that Discord, so jump on in. And as another note, if you are in the Discord, we sometimes ask for help for our episodes. So you can contribute to the episodes as well. I believe we're going to find out. I believe the link for the Discord is bit.ly/PPN Discord. The capital letters are PPND. And it should be in the show description as well.
Yep. So join us. And when you're on the Discord, you can interact with us, but you can also interact with the other great shows that are on the network. Yeah. Pokemakers is doing some awesome stuff. Green Mountain Mysteries is doing stuff.
Not awesome stuff, just stuff.
I don't know. So, okay, so disclaimer, some of the shows on the network aren't as family friendly as PG-13 PG as we are, and they're great, they're awesome, but I have no clue what they're doing because it's not my vibe, and that's okay because everybody's got a different vibe, and you just find a different show on the network.
Yeah, there's stuff for everyone.
If you vibe with our chill stuff, you'll probably like Pokemakers. If you want something a little bit more intense, there is Green Mountain Mysteries. Tia and Rio, I believe, is back or coming back. I don't remember specifically, but there's stuff to listen. There's always backlog to listen to. So even if a show that you see on there isn't currently active, you can listen to the old stuff, and it's all good.
It's all good. I feel like we keep kind of taking each other's things here.
Well, I was trying to backtrack.
Yeah, we can backtrack a little bit, but I'll forward track us.
Forward track us.
Follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Cult Classics PPN. And we try to engage there as well, and that's a great way for you to share the show to get more ears listening to our show. And eyeballs if you watch the YouTube videos.
Oh, yeah. We have should we throw that in there, too? We have a YouTube channel.
We do have a YouTube channel. Right now, we've just been posting our episodes as waveforms. So if you listen to podcasts on YouTube in the background, there's really nothing interesting to watch at the moment. But at some point, we will get back into the studio and record our faces. But the timing hasn't worked out. But we're still here to bring you new episodes.
That's right. Do we want to switch this next one?
Yeah, I think we need to switch it, but I'll have you say it and we'll figure out the rest later.
So, as always, thanks to Jason Shaw of Audionautics for the use of our intro and outro music. It makes the podcast even better to have an intro and outro.
So, you know what, Jessica?
Yes.
Imagine a horse.
Imagine a horse.
Disclaimer. The conceptual treatment of a motion picture created during the duration of this audio program is not intended to represent a presently published fictional narrative. The story, all names, characters, and incidents portrayed in this production are fictitious. No identification with actual persons, living or deceased, places, buildings, and products is intended or should be inferred. Original concepts devised during the extent of the audio program are creative property of Cult Classics. Any usage of current or previous Cult Classic concepts outside of the aforementioned audio program must include appropriate acknowledgments by the utilizing party.
Pocket Podcast Network. Quality programming right to your pocket.